to catch up from yesterday's class, what did we say from the previous lesson we had in Tanya? That we asked actually two questions. We left with one question, that if the Torah says there's an idea of death in the hand of heaven, and there's something called karis, like excursion, that you cut off, and that people would die should die then at the age of 50 and 60, how come we see that people don't actually die in today's day and age? We know many people do those sins and they don't actually pass away. So to get into that, he's explaining, and the whole idea of tshuva, how does it work? And we want to talk about tshuva is returning of the hay, and we want to share, we're going to share in today's class, that we each have the Hashem's name, these hays, all the 4 letters of Hashem's name is inside the soul of each and every one of us. That angels are kind of have the lower level of Hashem's name, Elohim, more nature. They're made from the 10 sayings that Hashem used to create the world. But the Jewish soul reflects the 4-letter name of Hashem, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. And when we sin, we affect those letters of Hashem's name. Let's see inside. So to understand this topic, it says in the verse that God's people are part of God, right? We know everything in the world comes from Hashem, but we're going to learn that we come from a deeper place. Part of the 4-letter name of Hashem is how the soul of the Jew, of Adam, was created. That we are part, our soul is part of the 4-letter name of Hashem, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey. Where do we see that the uniqueness of the soul? In the beginning of the Torah, by Adam, it says God blew into his nostrils a soul of life. And Kabbalah, as we spoke about this a number of times in the earlier books of Tanya, that man de nafach mitoichei nafach, that it's very specific in the wording, as every word is in the Torah. When it says God blew the soul into Adam, it means very specifically blew, and blowing is unique, different to show you the difference in speaking is that it's from a much deeper part of yourself, like a human being when he speaks or when he blows. It comes from a deeper part of himself. Even though, God forbid, God has no body, so why would you use an imagery of saying God blowing? But Torah spoke using language of men. So it's trying to relay an idea, a concept. It's not trying to tell you that Hashem blew instead of spoke, but he's trying to give you a concept. What's the concept he's trying to share with you by saying in the Torah that Hashem blew the soul into man? And just like by the human being, what's the analogy he wants to say? There's a very big difference in the Mashal. For example, that when you speak, the ear, the vibration that you create, to the speech that the ear that goes out when you blow, right? We all know if you ever had to blow up one of those tubes, swimming tubes. Now kids are in the pool, you get out of breath in a minute or two, you're totally out of breath, but you could speak for an hour and not get out of breath. That when you speak, the energy, the exertion, the soul power that comes out of you, it's much less. And it's very external and superficial relative to the inner energy that it has inside of it. But the energy that is exerted, that comes out, the soul that you see when somebody blows, he has to dig deeper and get the kishkas, the essence of his soul, much deeper part of himself, his body, the essence of his body. And his soul, his energy out by blowing. You tap into resources of a deeper part of yourself. So let's go on. So that's in the analogy. We obviously know there's a simple difference between one physically speaks or when one is physically blows. Now let's get into our message that we want to share. So too, by way of analogy, Mavdil, Havdalah St. It's obviously, though very different, similarly, but also very different. It's just the concept that we want to bring out here. There's a tremendous difference in heaven too, being called between everything that God created, all the heavenly hosts, and not just talking about physical things. The greatest angels. We know everything, as we learned in the last book of Tanya, was brought into existence from nothing to something, as we explained at length in the second book of Tanya. And they live and they exist, they continue to get every single moment, as we explained in the last book, their nourishment, their energy, their life. In an external fashion from the infinite energy of Hashem. Hashem created everything with the infinite energy, and it continues to exist, right? As we explained, the 10 sayings that Hashem used to create the world, that Hashem used the 10 vessels and the 10 sayings creating the world. And the term used to describe the general creation of the world is called the breath of his mouth. Like it says, with the word of his mouth, he created all the hosts. Everything was created with the word of a mouth. So Hashem used a system of the 10 sayings with letters and words, as we explained in length in the last book of Tanya, that emanated from God and brought everything into creation. So the beginning of creation was from the sayings, the 10 sayings that Hashem did. That's how physical creation came to be. That's the creative power. That's in the letters, as we explained at length in the last book of Tanya, in the 10 sayings. So each letter has an energy, and the 10 major sentences that Hashem used, sayings that Hashem used to create the world, went down, and then through how there's exchanges between each letter to create the physical identity of the world. Which is a way of energy going into vessels, which starts to divide the energy. Explained at length in the last chapter, book of Tanya, chapter 11. And there's a very big difference between that and the soul of man. That the soul of man was not created like the rest of creation, that it began at the 10 sayings, the letters and the sayings that Hashem used to create the world. Soul of man was created from a much earlier, deeper place. It first came from the inner energy of Hashem, not from the external energy, the letters and the words of the infinite energy of Hashem, but the soul actually originated from the internal energy of Hashem, from the eternal energy of the infinite energy of Hashem. That's why the Torah says by Yipach that he blew into his nostrils, trying to bring out a parable that the soul that Hashem blew into Adam, and so too in every Jewish soul, Hashem brings it from a much deeper part than of everything else that created into creation. However, eventually the soul had to come into a body. It couldn't be infinite. It had to come into limitation. So it also went through the progression and evolution of the letters and of the sayings, specifically the saying of Hashem said, "Let us make man." You have to have that soul connect to a body, and it has to exist within a physical world. So even though it originated in the infinite energy of Hashem deeper than anything else for the 4-letter name of Hashem, however, it went through concealing planes, many concealing levels, contracted, until it came down through letters to create it to be a physical existence, through the saying of Hashem, "Let us make man," so that the soul won't stay infinite, but can dress up and come into a body in this physical world. So that's why the angels are called, and it's going to bring out a difference. Angels we see in Torah are called Elokim. Why are angels called Elokim? In other words, first of all, like in Rabbi Manis Friedman's classes, he said that this idea, even that we're calling angels with the name of Elokim, is okay. I think he brought it from the Rebbe. Only Torah has a right to call angels Elokim. I guess getting in touch with their energy, how they come from Hashem. But the fact is, he's quoting the Torah, and he quotes 3 different verses expressing the 3 different levels of angels that exist within each of the 3 different worlds, 3 of the 4 worlds where the angels come from. So the Torah calls them Elokim. Hashem Elokechem Hu HaElokei Elokim, like it says, God, your God, is the God of the Elokim, referring to the angels. Hodul Elokei Elokim, praise be the God of the gods, again, referring to the angels of V'yavo, Bnei Elokim V'Yatzev, and the sons of Elokim came to present themselves. Now, we can never refer to angels as Elokim, which is the name of God, the way he gets in nature, because that would be, it sounds like heresy. But Torah can refer to the inner energy of the angels and call them Elokim. But that's not the point we're making over here in today's Tanya. The point we're making is, even when he's describing the angels as the godly energy within them, he doesn't describe the angels as the name of God, of Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey, because that is not how the angels get their life force from. It is only the Jewish soul, the neshama, as we started off in today's class, saying that the Jewish people, the Jewish soul is part of Hashem himself, the 4-letter name of Hashem. The Torah can reference the soul of the Jew as the 4-letter name of Hashem, but it will reference the angels as reflecting the godliness within them. It reflects them only as the lower name of Hashem, the name Elokim. Because the angel's energy that it gets them being at life is from the external energy, from the 10 sayings that Hashem used to create the world, which are just letters, which brought everything into creation. They're under that kind of creation. B'Shem Elokim, in the name of Elokim of God, that name of God, relative to the other name of God, the 4-letter name of Hashem, the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey, that is external and this is internal. This comes from the internal part of Hashem, where the Jewish soul originates from, and the angels come from the external part of Hashem, the Elokim, the natural name that creates nature. Nishvas Adam, the soul of man, which comes from the inner energy of Hashem. The soul of a Jew is from a part of the four-letter name of Hashem, the infinite name of Hashem. Because the description of that name of God shows in the inner energy where the soul originated from, which is way higher, the infinite level is way higher than letters and shapes, which is the beginning of physical creation, which is where the angels came from. The Jewish soul came from a much deeper part of that, from the internal, intrinsical part of Hashem. That is the end of today's Tanya. Any questions or comments?